last, the heroes can leave Purgatory, but not without a sacrifice, so to speak. He was introduced in a way people find underwhelming, so I guess in the end it makes sense that he is the one to sacrifice himself. He also makes a valid point. He had a little brother, but the little brother didn't even know of his existence. Still, it is a sad scene. Angry Anime Fan 2 here to bring you Nanatsu no Taizai Chapter 284. Of it all, I basically have spoiled the thing, but I'll tell you what really happened. As they try to force their way through the Demon King, and even though the Demon King proves, of course, to be a very struggling opponent. First of all, it's Bun who is trying to stun him, while they find the gate to out of the Purgatory, which indeed is well, like a giant hole filled with light. But of course, the Demon King suppresses Bun's ability because he simply deactivated a few spells, and therefore once again healed him. So, as Bun tries to struggle against all of this, he gets rescued by Meliodas, who of course can't leave his best friend to die, and then says he will hold him back. So, as father and son confront each other with different swords, they clash, creating fissures all over. And it's during this time they really let out their, well, hatred for each other. It's pretty strange though. The Demon King considers Meliodas the only one fit to be his, well, not descendant, successor, and yet he still has the gall to call him a good-for-nothing failure in these moments. But Meliodas does say that he never acknowledged him as his own father. It is actually also a little bit questionable that. I mean, Meliodas wasn't always like this in the past. He was more brutal before. Surely he never surely acknowledged his father back then. Maybe he didn't. Of course, Meliodas asks what's the reason for me being a failure. It's simply because all a long time the Demon King has considered Meliodas to be a destroyer, not a saver. But Meliodas considers the Demon King the destroyer, and he claims that he has no interest in taking the throne of the Demon King. All he wanted was to end the meaningless war. However, the Demon King doesn't comprehend that, as he says that Meliodas is the most suitable to inherit my throne. The most that is not needed is his emotions. So I mean, in the end, the Demon King just considers Meliodas his successors, but his good emotions is getting in the way. In a way, I consider that doesn't make sense, but it's the Demon King. His reason do not make sense. It's a bit sad though that we're never gonna see the Supreme Deity and her reasoning for all of this. But something tells me her reasoning is almost the same as the Demon King. Perhaps she didn't want Elizabeth to, well, be her successor, but the curse she placed on her, I think that was to break her mentally until she finally would beg her mother to come back to her. I think it's the same way the Demon King says here, that Meliodas was for him the most perfect weapon he had. Therefore, it's the only one who would work that way. But then suddenly, someone attacks the Demon King as he unleashes his full power. It's Wild who unleashes his full throttle, ultimate technique with the life energy he has been gathering. But it's during this time though he throws Meliodas at Ban, who is near the gate, and unfortunately for the two guys, they cannot stop Wild as they fall into the gate. But Wild has no regret as he begins to burst up in pain. He laments of the fact that he could never see his little brother, but also acknowledges that he has been in Purgatory for, what is it, 8 million years? He has endured in hiding, but for him learning that Mile was alive was more than enough. And even though he regrets not seeing him, it's also the fact that Mild, who we all know is Hawk, didn't even know that he had a brother. Well, for some reason he had a mother though, but you know what I mean. So he is satisfied that someone that he had two friends um, who not only could become his best friends but also know him. With that, he tells the two friends to look after each other as they fall into the gate through the gate that will lead them out of Purgatory. The battle against the Demon King has ended in the Gate of Hope, but not without a sacrifice. So yeah, with that, it's finally over. Now they will just have to rejoin the battlefield. The thing that confuses me though is this Meliodas is supposed to be the good Meliodas' emotions. If he gets to the real world, is he really gonna manifest himself as another Meliodas? Then what about the Meliodas that's in the demon cocoon and all that stuff? Isn't that gonna be a little bit confusing? But Nanatsu no Taizai have done a lot of things that is not exactly so good nowadays, so I guess it makes sense. However, it's worth noting that we will not have a Seven Deadly Sins next week. I mean, no Nanatsu no Taizai next week. Don't know why, but I guess that must be bad news. So this is basically the chapter. Well, I mean, I never liked Hawk, so his brother didn't really, well, hit me as much either. But in the way, it became a fight that made sense. You couldn't escape from such a powerful foe without a sacrifice, and that is emotional. What were your thoughts on this chapter? Give me your thoughts if you have any.